Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a pick a card scrying layout today. So I've got here 3 piles and I'm burning just a little bit of copal, myrrh, and cat's claw to just kind of set a nice energetic vibe for us here. So sending you this lovely intended heart clearing and centering protective smoke your way. And then just go ahead and look at these 3 piles here and choose the pile that you're most drawn to intuitively. And then I'll come back and give you your reading here. So go ahead and choose which pile. And then each pile is going to have a 3-card scrying with me. So I'll see you in each reading. Hi, pile 1. So this is your pile that you selected, and this is going to be, like I said in the description, a reading for what's being unsaid or what's in the unseen part of your relationship or between you and your person at this time. What's being unsaid? What are some important messages that might help bring you some clarity at this time from the unseen? So here's your 3 cards here. And I'm just going to kind of scry in and see what can come out through this intuitive scrying session. Thank you for being here. So the first thing I'm seeing is travel. There's travel by land and by air. There's a lot of movement. So I'm picking up that what you may not be aware of or what's being unsaid is there's a lot of change and possibly literal travel, but possibly just spiritual and emotional travel and movement in the relationship. You may not be aware of that. You may be feeling like you're moving in opposite directions or that you're not coming together. There's a struggle if you're desiring to kind of come together with this person. There's been a struggle where you feel like you're moving away from one another or in opposite directions. But what I'm actually seeing here is there's a lot of focus, determination, and movement towards one another from the other party, whether you are conscious of that or not. They share the vision that you have. There's definitely a metamorphosis taking place, though, from a land-based or a different etheric plane, you might say, like from the earth plane into the air plane. Or air element, I should say, or vice versa. Stuff that has been in the element of your mind and then your air element may now be coming down more into the earth element in your experience with this person. I keep seeing arrows, like you might be worried that you've been missing one another or that you're going to continue to miss one another. But the reality is that there's a lot of focused movement here. It's a lot of important change happening. And like a metamorphosis, if we think of something like a caterpillar going into its cocoon, there's a lot happening inside that little cocoon that we're not privy to, that we can't see. And that can't be rushed. You can't force a cocoon to open before it's time for the chrysalis to become a butterfly. It has to go in its own time. But there's definitely a lot of movement happening inside the chrysalis, right? Inside the cocoon, even if we don't see it externally. So that's really coming through strongly. There might be challenges, though, because you think in different ways from this person, where you may have a different energy coming through more of your sacral and root chakra, and this other person is coming through almost not even that level of energy. They might be very black and white thinkers and very, again, like air element versus fire element or something, where there's challenges in merging the two because they're both so catalyzed in both of you. You're both learning to listen and observe with different senses than you have been in the past. So both of you are going through a process of learning how to, like, you might be experiencing telepathy with this person or meeting them in their dream space, and that's foreign to you, or it might not feel like it's earth element based enough for you. That might be where some of your discomfort is coming from, is that you are used to perceiving what you can see and what you can touch and what you can feel in the 3D world. And a lot of the communication that's happening between you might be happening on the etheric plane, in the dream state, and through telepathy. And that might be a challenge for you if you're wanting it to become more real and less of the mind or of a different etheric plane, right? Like if you're wanting something that's more grounded in the 3D reality that we're existing in as human bodies, this is a challenge that you've been up against. But what's unseen is that you're both learning to hear and listen and see with different faculties, like your third eye, like your crown, not just through communicating through the throat chakra and through tangible action taken in the 3D world. I'm seeing here a lot of communication happening on different levels, happening through third eye vision, through these mirror pools, happening through the throat chakra, and also happening through listening with these antennae. So there's this period of time where you may have been experiencing like, well, okay, yeah, like maybe I'm feeling like I can feel this person, but where does that get me in my everyday life? What is important for you to understand is that there's really pivotal and important growth happening for both of you as you both learn to develop these skills within you. This is something to be trusted and not to be feared. But I'm sensing for at least one of you, this is a real challenge. It's a challenge to believe like, yeah, I'm telepathically communicating with this person, or yeah, I sense their emotions, even though I'm nowhere near them physically. Or I feel like I met them in the dream space last night, but where does that get me in my day-to-day life? I'm still missing them. I'm still not with them. I'm still feel like we're moving away from one another rather than towards. Like there just seems to be no movement. That blocked feeling is really coming through. Like I just saw a brick wall. And you keep feeling like no matter how much I try to come towards this person or open up the lines of communication, it's not happening. In fact, it seems like the opposite is happening. And I just feel and sense the aggravation, especially through this red and orange color right here and this determined vision of this little creature that's moving across land. What's happening is that these other senses, clairaudience possibly, or telepathy or dream space work that's happening between you. This might be like something that feels like a fated connection. A lot of times twins will have these kinds of abilities. I mean biological twins, like siblings. But if you're somebody that identifies as a twin flame, you probably are already aware that that's a common experience that twin flames have, is feeling one another even when they're not present, hearing the other's thoughts. Even you can even experience things like tasting what they're eating, things like that that seem very outside what you're used to thinking about or being open to in terms of what works for you in your life. That's where some of this black and white, we're not meeting one another because I want this to become more tangible, and God or whoever is insisting that we're in this period of stillness where we're developing these skills of how to communicate with one another on this other level. That's come through here. One of you's having a lot of confusion mentally. There's a lot of mental lack of clarity, probably on your part, where you're feeling in a twist or confused about, like you have like a brain block is what keeps coming through. There's like a brain block, which might be expressing this dilemma for you about like, I don't want to have a telepathic relationship. I want my relationship to be physical. I want it to feel real. I don't want it to feel like this illusion where I'm dating somebody in telepathy and in the dream space, right? Like that's where I think this brain block has you. It's like you're kind of trying to put your foot down and say like, it's not going to keep going on this plane I think what you're not seeing is that because it's happening or unfolding in the etheric plane first, it's developing a skill for you, like having third eye vision, like trusting your senses beyond just the senses of the 3D world, right? But your mind, I can sense, is having trouble with that. Even if you think of yourself as open-minded and kind of a dreamer, there's also kind of like, it's like a brain block where you're almost digging your heels in or fighting with spirit about it. Like, no, I insist my way. I want it to be physical. I want it to be real. And things keep getting in your way. And this may be why, because you're being asked to slow down and allow these qualities or these capacities or gifts to develop within you. The development of sight, the development of clairaudience, the development of further telepathy. Because what may be happening is that you may be starting to have these skills in other areas of your life that you may only just be now becoming aware of, that you can trust your intuition, not just in this relationship, but in other areas with other people, for example. You might be finding that you can read people more and more, for example, or read circumstances, or even have like predictive understandings about things that are happening to you. And that is a far different experience than this little guy that's just moving along the ground in his one perspective of the 3D earth plane. I sense that's kind of where this brain block is coming from, is that you're not moving in opposite directions. It's just that you're having trouble letting go and allowing these different clair capacities within you, like clairaudient, clairvoyant, like all these different types of sight that are developing in you, maybe catalyzed by this relationship. It's happening for a reason. You're being asked to develop this right now, I guess. As frustrating as that may be, what you may not be seeing through that kind of brain block is that you're developing your wings. You're going through, I know it can get to be an overused metaphor of going through the experience of the caterpillar, chrysalis, and butterfly, but it's really a poignant image here, because you're moving way past this one vision that you had into this whole other capacity to travel in your dreams, to meet somebody in the astral plane, to hear their thoughts, to taste what they're eating, to do. Those are abilities that most people don't tap into ever in their life, right? And so the fact that you're being given these gifts, that's where your brain block, I think, is interfering, is that it's okay. This is moving along at the pace that it has to for your own abilities and for the other person's. What this little guy is not seeing is that he's about to develop his wings and take flight in this whole other way. I'm also seeing something about games, like Connect the Dots or Connect 4, or something that has to do with playing games and making connections and making, so those types of games might be games of strategy, games that exercise your brain and force you to think strategically or use deductive reasoning. That's important for some reason. You may like that, or your person may value those types of games, or strategic layouts. I don't know what that is. Now I'm also even seeing it with this polka dot of my, there's something about that here. Like laying out a connecting the dots diagram, or playing Battleship, or like there's some type of gaming happening here. Either it's exercising your strategic faculties, this type of gaming, and exercising that muscle in your brain that helps you to slow down and think through things strategically rather than act from impulse. Connecting the dots is a big one that's coming through. And I keep seeing that through like Connect 4. There was a little dot game where I remember I used to play it with my dad, where you would draw out a grid of dots and you'd have to make squares, and whoever made the most squares won somehow, something like that. I also see Battleship, like I said, which is points that you're trying to remember as you're at syncing your enemy's boats. What else? There was another one too. It's called Simon, but there's a game that I used to love. It's just a 2-person game. And it's where you have your 4 colors that you've chosen in a row covered up, and so does your opponent. And you use deductive reasoning to guess which colors they've chosen and in what row. There's something like that. That this is exercise for these muscles in your brain. You might like doing that, and that might help. If you're not doing these types of games, it might help you to do that. Like get an online chess partner, or do something that has you moving strategically and gaming and exercising that part of your mind. If you don't do gaming, like online gaming through video games, right? It can be other types of games. My only game that I've ever loved as a video game is The Sims. Anything beyond Atari when I was a child, it was almost like it was too much for me, the hand-eye coordination. But I loved The Sims because it had a completely different mode of playing versus trying to have really quick hand-eye coordination, right? There's something about merging and coming together, which circles us back to the beginning where I used that word merge, where you might be desiring to have a merge in the physical plane with this person and feeling blocked and like it's not happening and you're moving away from one another. I am seeing merging here. There's a merging taking place. Like it's a union that's taking place on the etheric plane, which can precede the real plane. The earth plane is a lot denser and things move at a much slower pace. What's not being seen is everything that's going on in the ether around this relationship. There is merging happening. There's a coming together. There's a less definitive separation and more of a merging because of this telepathic and dream space communication. You can trust that. You're not losing it. You're not crazy. I sense that that's maybe a fear, is that you're worried that if you go too deep into trusting that you're in this relationship actively with this person that's taking place in your dream spaces and in your telepathic thoughts, that's aggravating for you. And you're like, but that's not enough. I can't live on that. I know I've said that more than once now. And I appreciate what you're saying because we have to exist in this plane. We're here on the earth plane, and I very much can appreciate why you wouldn't want a relationship that only exists in the ether. But this is saying there's a merging taking place, and this can't be rushed. Again, it's like there's a merging, there's a coming together, there's a growing of wings, there's an entire metamorphosis happening in this relationship. You're just not seeing it because you're starting to wonder if you can trust your own experience because nothing is happening in the physical. But there's something about musculature and strengthening. So you're getting stronger. It might be that this relationship is going to bring in so much power to your life that you need to get prepared physically and emotionally and mentally for a relationship like this, with this musculature, with this strengthening of yourself. This journey, this walking across the burning sands or the difficult elements of this relationship is strengthening you. And things are going to happen in like a 180-degree shift here, as long as you're willing to surrender to this. There's more surrender needed, which might bring you some of that peace that's eluding you right now as these dots get connected and come together. And you are using your minds towards the same end, right? And towards the same, that's just came through really strongly. That the merging can be accelerated if you're both working towards the same thing. So that might be something that you allow yourself to engage on the telepathic plane, is making sure that you're on the same page, trying to check with that person through those other clear experiences. Like, are we working together? Is this both a goal for both of us, right? I know that can feel a little bit weird to try to initiate some sort of understanding like that through a dream space or through telepathy, especially if you're still learning, but it's okay. It doesn't hurt to ask. It teaches you about what your abilities really are in this situation. And keep notes or keep a journal. When I've been going through a similar experience, at one point I sat down and made a timeline to just see, like, are my thoughts crazy, or are these things really unfolding in this linear way that makes sense, even if it sometimes corkscrews back on itself, or I feel in a loop, I can see the development. And so doing something like that, like to help you connect the dots, might help. Like sitting down and making a timeline of events might be useful to you. Anything else before I end this for you, pile 1? There's something interesting here in the heart center, which is I do see sort of a heart in here. And a heart center over here as well. But then in this little guy, it's together, it's one. And so there's something about that as well. Something to do with the heart and the heart chakra. Anything else for this pile? Being brushed with wings. I see you being brushed with wings, like very gently. Like you might have some guides or affinities with birds or animals that care for you in this time that is troubling. I'm just seeing you being brushed with a lot of really wings, beautiful wings, very gently, feathers, right? Something is soothing you. Something wants you to know that it sees how hard you're working and it's not in vain. And you're being soothed with these feathers. Like if you were a newborn chick and you're burrowed into your mother's feathers, right? There's something about that that's really beautiful coming through here. And it may be hard to feel when you're this little guy here just making his way across the land. That's exhausting, especially for a small creature like this, like what I'm seeing. You're not going it alone. You're not doing it in vain. So that's all for you, pile 1. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi, pile 2. So like I said in the description box, this is going to be for what's going unsaid or what's in the unseen between you and your person. What's maybe something that's knowledge that's eluding you, or unspoken truths about the relationship with your person that's going unseen. Wow, lots of vibrant energy for this pile. My goodness, this is a stark difference than pile 1. So let me just see here. So kind of to start with, what I'm seeing is you communicating, you having third eye vision here. And you're really charged up to be speaking it, to be clarifying things, to be open in your heart, open in your throat chakra and speaking your truths and moving things forward and communicating with this person. That's a really intense motivating factor for you right now, is that you want to be heard. You want to speak to this person and clear the air or clear things up. There's almost like a desperate quality for that, of you really wanting. There's also like a need to be fed. Like you've got a hunger about it right now, where you're really wanting to insist, like, can we please just talk? I'm really hearing that, like, where are you? Come through. Like, I need to talk to you, or I need your attention and tending. I'm seeing like a little bird trying to be fed in the nest. Birds came up in the first layout too, and now here they are again. A little bird in the nest who's crying out for its mother. Like, where are you? Like, I need you. I need to talk things through with you. Like, why do you keep avoiding me or something, right? And you've gotten a lot of wisdom through going deep within yourself and trying to sort through this relationship. You've tapped into your third eye. Your ears and your listening and your throat chakra are wide open. But there's also a little bit of imbalance here with like this desperate need to be heard, kind of. It might help you to do some throat chakra work, right? To bring this into a little bit more of an alignment again. So there's not this desperate need here, because often in relationships, like if you're approaching someone through desperation, I mean, there might be reason, we'll keep going here, but sometimes desperation energy drives the other party away if they are not someone who responds well to that type of need. This could be a relationship with a parent, but I meant for these layouts to be romantic. But there might be a relationship with a parent that's taking precedence in your romantic life, and that's why that's coming through. I don't know. That might be true for some people. I'm seeing that you've cried tears here. You've even gotten sick at times over this relationship. There's been a lot of chaos and confusion. It's really brought out vulnerable sides in you that might be where this is coming from. Like your inner child might be really activated in this dynamic, and it's making you feel very fearful and needy, and like you need to be soothed and tended to like a child needs, right? And I'm sensing that you understand that in a different time when you're not so driven to be heard. I sense that you understand that because of this third eye vision that you've been working on and ascension process that's been helping you to rise above maybe some of this inner child wounding that's coming through here about this dynamic. This is really coming through that this is the other party right here. This isn't what I intended necessarily, but these cards are representing you and the other party. And the other party, if you can see here, the other party's not speaking. You maybe have a desperate need to communicate through the throat chakra. The other person is in a need for quiet and stillness. And that's really at odds with where you are. Even when you've been doing all this work to develop yourself and understand more of your soul's needs and why you might be so activated right now. Maybe when the time of this reading is arriving to you is a time that you're activated and less able to access this, and more like, feed me or nurture me or give me something. Like I can't go on nothing, right? A baby bird screams out of the nest because it has a definitive need to survive, right? So it's saying, where are you? Feed me. I'm hungry and I need to keep growing and surviving, right? This other person is in a stillness. They're in a non-speaking mood. They're in a quiet stalemate energy almost. I don't know if it's a stalemate, but there seems to be kind of a stalemate coming through their third eye area that's a little bit more like, make me, almost like it's what I said, like this sort of demand or desperate need to be responded to. This person is not responding to that. They don't like it. In fact, their reaction is to be kind of, and this is neither good nor bad. I'm not assessing this as this is wise on their part or not. I'm just trying to highlight the dynamics here. But this person seems like a trickster to you. And their way of responding to this need in you is to shut down almost and to go stoic or still, like Easter Island heads, where you can scream at a head on Easter Island all you want, and it's not necessarily going to do anything but stand in stillness, right? Like a sentinel. And it's almost like that's what this feeling is happening for you. This person feels more like a statue or like a mirror reflecting back to you your own need. And it's really brought you to your knees here. You've cried a lot of tears over it. You've been really wanting just to hear anything from this person. And it's almost like because this person senses that, they're withholding it. I see them kind of staring back at you like, what do you want from me? And that might be, I know this is hard to hear, but that might be what it's designed to be doing right now, so that you're forced again to stop looking externally and go within. I know how tiresome that can sound because we are social creatures. Going within is only for so long. Unless you're going to live a life of monasticism, most people want a time of going within to yield healthy relationships and reconnection with others. And it's almost like this person is refusing, is what I'm seeing right now, refusing to speak to you or refusing to engage in the discussion or the clarifying effort that you're wanting. They're not willing right now. And because this sort of looks like a jester's hat in a way, it's like they feel like a trickster to you, like an illusion, because they're so unresponsive. They might you might be feeling like, God, I guess I just, the risk is that you then assess that something's wrong with you. And that's not the case. If all this person or being is doing is reflecting back to you, as difficult as that is, there's learning there. There's a lesson there for you to go back within. Like, what does my inner child need, right? This person doesn't have the answer for you necessarily. What their answer for you is just to reflect back right now. It's not to engage. We don't know why. This energy is very mysterious, is what I'm feeling. It's withholding a little bit. It may feel cruelly withholding to you, but the nature of the trickster is not necessarily cruel or kind. It's trickster, right? So it's never quite, it's slippery. It's like shamanic energy. It can be one thing, holding up a mirror is really a non-moving stance, and yet you see how powerful it is because it's really activating you, right? That they're not responding. What I see here in the dynamic between you is that there is a lot of potential for a coming together and a communication and a merging, even sexually, possibly. Like, you may end up sleeping with this person or have slept with them. Like, this is looking very sexual to me, like a physical connection. But that might be what some of the challenges is, that it's missing the nurturing that you feel like your inner child needs. And you're not sure and you're worried if this person is going to ever give it, or if they're just going to continue to reflect back to you this stoic facade, right? I keep seeing that Easter Island head. Like, they're endearing heads. I love them, but they're also ancient, and they just stand as sentinels and stoic in some way, and that they're unmoving. And so I can sense that while there's been a lot of intense energy exchange on multiple levels between you, this to me was kind of looking like a chakra system with a merging of physicality, right? Like the phallus and the yoni here. There's some kind of physical coming together that has happened with this person that has been so catalyzing and activating for you and your inner child that you're like this baby bird. That's what's coming through. Let me see what else. This person's wearing a mask is what I sense. They're not just a reflective being for you. They are going through their own process, but they have a mask on, so you're not aware of it. And you're not used to dealing with someone who operates in that way, who doesn't reveal themselves. You're used to heart on your sleeve, wanting to be open, wanting to see, wanting to communicate, wanting to nurture the child within, wanting to nurture them even. I see you really feeling thwarted because this connection has been so powerful, because there has been this coming together in this way that's been very orgasmic and a real merging that may have made you feel complete or made you feel something that your inner child really needed. And then now that this person has moved into like a stoic affect without, or wearing a mask again, it's been really triggering for you. So what else, Spirit? What can you do? Like, what is the resolve here? Because I really feel that energy from you of like, this is not fair to me, right? I don't feel that this is a fair withdrawal on this person's part. I think the answer is that you need to de-escalate a little bit, because there is a merging here of these throat chakras, and through this merge line here, it's going to require you nurturing and tending to your own inner child first, though, so that you de-escalate, so that you are in an energy that's open again to this person. Because what I'm sensing is that this person has the mask on and is reflecting back to you because they feel push beyond what they are ready to do. And so if you meet your own needs and go within and tend to this little baby chick within you, it opens your energy up to allow this person to come back towards you. Right now, they feel like they are stonewalling kind of because they feel maybe flooded, because this is a mutual merging here. It's not one-sided. You both came together like this. So your way of, it's almost like maybe you have two attachment styles that are quite different, where this person has an avoidant attachment and you have an anxious attachment. And so that's like a perfect puzzle to like be really activating to one another. But when you come together on the physical plane like this, there's something really catalyzing for both of you. So this may be like a little bit cold water or cold comfort, but being in this energy, alleviating it as much as you can for yourself, is what I'm sensing is going to help open this person back up to you. That's kind of what's going on in the unseen. You might have gotten to the point where you're like, fuck them. Like, they're just never, like, every time it's the same thing. I want to clarify, and then they shut down and they run. And like, you might be really in your mind about it and having lost some clarity, which honestly is kind of driving this person into more stoicism. And so I'm not saying, again, that that's neither here, whether I think that's fair of them or not is not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm just saying is that if you want this more even energetic exchange to recover or to come back, it will be helpful for you to parent your own inner child until you feel soothed and comforted, so that you're not pulling for this person to do it, because they're not going to give it right now. I feel that really strongly. They're dug in. They're like, nope, I don't respond to that. You demanding is not how it works. And in fact, I avoid anything that makes me feel hemmed in or contained at all, right? Hopefully they're going to be willing to do their own work, but this reading is really for you. A trickster is not naive. A trickster is incredibly intelligent. So my guess is that if you're able to kind of navigate and take the lead in managing your own energy, somebody who has trickster energy is often willing to then adapt back towards you, right? Because a trickster is changeable. They're not always like this, right? They're in different states. I don't know if you can hear that siren, but there's something about this that feels very alarming. And then in kind, it feels alarming to this person that they want to stop the entire thing. I think by you managing your own energy and getting out of the stalemate of like, it must be this way, this person must talk to me or else kind of thing. The energy is kind of flowing again in this kind of gentle or more balanced way, with these kind of tendrils of coming together again. There's also something about shooting stars here. So that might have, because they're shooting stars in almost every image here. So I think that that's why this has been so catalytic for you, is because of the potency and the power behind the connection. But this person reflecting back to you is really a gift, if you can look at it like that, because it's revealing yourself to you. And I would hope it's revealing them to themselves. Maybe they're seeing, why am I doing this? I do care about this person, so why am I withholding? They are withholding, though. That's coming through really strongly, as they're withholding right now. But they, if they're engaged at all in this mutuality with you, then you are sort of, by you being willing to go within and regulate yourself, it frees them to do the same and to be willing to go within instead of just pushing back against you about looking at, what was I fighting for? Like, maybe I do want to come towards this person because they've relaxed and eased their grip here. This person has an old soul. This person is a powerful soul. Not that you are not, but there's just a current dynamic of you feeling very, very vulnerable in the dynamic. This person is not a person that shows vulnerability easily. And I think it's in part because they've learned a lot and they're an old soul. That doesn't mean you're not, again, like I'm saying, but I'm really seeing that this person's stoicism, they may even see beyond what you see about yourself right now. That's coming through. They may see that you're acting out of an inner child wound and they don't want to respond to that. It might be from a place of wisdom, honestly, and not just stalemate stoic reaction, although that's present. There may also be some wisdom. Like I'm seeing the wisdom of a tattooed shaman that's like, you know, if you go not asking a shaman for help, you don't go to these levels and demand and stomp your feet and beg and cry, right? Like a shaman's not going to necessarily respond to that. A shaman will wait until you're calmer and can deliver your message with clarity, and then they'll step in and see about helping you. But a shaman isn't necessarily a crisis interventionist. You go to a shaman for their wisdom and you respect their, and so this person is sort of playing a shamanic role in your life. You may be for them as well, but this is more about where you are. You've got, and I hope that this isn't hurtful to hear. I hope it feels affirming, like, yeah, I do feel like, where is this coming from within me? Like, I'm so frustrated. And it's this little one inside you that was possibly neglected or had parents that wouldn't feed you or wouldn't respond to you. And so I just saw like a child screaming in a crib and crying and nobody coming and attending. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please be easy on yourself. That I just feel like I just saw you as a child. I'm really sorry. Like just screaming and crying to be attended to and nobody coming, and how difficult that is for a little one. That little one's really activated here. If you can do some self-soothe and recognize that, I think it's going to help open this person back up to a dialogue again, and maybe another coming together physically if that's what you want. And I can't get a sense of whether this person, this is why their energy is seeming so shamanic and trickstery, is I can't really get a sense of whether what's going on behind their mask. It's a very well cultivated mask. I can see why it's so activating for you. If you're trying to operate with authenticity and this person has a mask on, it's like, well, how can I don't want to deal with your mask, you know, like, where are you? Where's the person that this happened with, right? Like, where did you go? There's that little one again, screaming from the crib. Like, you were just holding me 2 days ago. Like, what happened? Why can't you comfort me now? Where are you, right? This relationship has really challenged you to go deep, deep, deep inside to heal some of those wounds. It's not an easy journey. I can feel that for you. I hope that this person is willing to go within and beneath their own mask. They have these sort of huge visionary sight. So they're, like I said before, like, this person's coming from a wise place. They're also in a human experience, though, reacting to their own life. So it's important to remember, even if they have wisdom, even if they have a deep understanding of what you're going through, they're still a human going through the human experience. And so they are allowed to have their own need for boundaries and privacy and respect that they're not ready. And they're not your parent, right? They're not here to meet your inner child needs necessarily. You have to do that for you. And then you both can kind of come together from a more balanced place, right? I hope that's helpful. Please don't take it as me being lectury because it's obvious to me why. Like, if you've really felt connected and close with this person and then they were gone, that's their human experience, right? That's their avoidant attachment, possibly, that comes from their own childhood wounds that they may have learned, like, stoicism is the best way. because otherwise, if I'm anything but stoic, there's consequences. So I must be stoic in order to get through my life, right? Like, that's what I mean by their human experience. They have a lot of wisdom. They have a lot of emotional intelligence, is what I'm sensing. They're very careful about who they let see beyond their stoic mask, right? They may have had, like, you may have had a neglectful parent and they had an over-involved parent that maybe parentified them and made them responsible for the parent's emotional welfare, which would explain why this person shuts down or gets stoic if they sense in any way that you're pulling from them emotionally when they don't have it to give, right? A parentified child who feels responsible for the emotional welfare of their parents often adopts this kind of stoicism, right, in their adult life. So that's pretty much it. Let me just see. Is there anything else here? Yeah, I guess just that stellar, interstellar, like star-based shooting star. There's something about this that's heavenly or that feels spirit-guided. So I hope you can hang on to that too while you continue to do your work. Yeah, it's just really coming through again how powerful. This is somebody that you've slept with, I think, and that was part of the catalytic experience, was that it was beyond like a normal sexual encounter with someone. Like, it may have catalyzed you or the other person or both, right, into something you thought maybe you could never have. So to have that yanked away and suddenly this person's wearing a mask and stoic, like, that's painful and confusing. And I very much see why it would be creating a lot of fear and desperate need within you. Just know that that's okay, and you can nurture that part of you until you feel a little bit more even keeled and grounded again, and this person can feel safe to approach. They feel engulfed right now. That's kind of what's coming through beyond the mask, is they feel a little bit engulfed by your emotion, which happens with parentified children, right? Who don't get the opportunity to differentiate themselves. They get enmeshed and engulfed with their parents' moods and needs, right? So this is a big defense for this person. They let their guard down with you, so don't forget that. Just know that they're on their own journey, having their own human experience. They're not going to be able to answer and meet all your needs. And I think you know that in other times. It's just that right now something happened that made you feel really vulnerable. And like, you need to stand, like, I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to demand that this person treat me with respect. And there's a lot more going on under the surface that can just be helpful to remember. You have your free will. You don't have to hang in there with this person if you don't want to. You can move on. You know, if this person's not willing to release their stoicism or their mask, then at some point, even if you're not in this energy, it's like, well, you don't want to be in a relationship with a trickster. You'd like someone to be authentic, right? So I hope that's helpful, pile 2, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. All right, pile 3. This is the message for you through this scrying session. And this is, like it says in the description, what is the unseen or unspoken truth happening between you and your person right now that you're interested in, and that, or that you're in a relationship with? What's something going on behind the scenes that you don't know about or that is unseen? Thank you for being here. Wow. So I don't know how meditative you are as a person, but kind of like in pile 2, I'm seeing this relationship, or that both of you are very old souls. You may have been connected to this person in multiple lives, in multiple experiences, even outside the earth plane. Right now, you're in a very, like, in the present moment, you're in a really brass tacks black and white, truth and lies, like is or it isn't focus or decision-making point with this relationship. There's been a lot of activity on both sides of the relationship from both of you that have sort of brought it to this head or made it be like do or die time. Like this might feel like unless something shifts, this is the end and there's really no bones about it. Like I can't, we are going, it seems like a joint decision, like that you've maybe come to this crossroads with this person jointly where you're both aware of it and you're both like, we're either going to make it or we're not. There's something going on there where you're bringing out all of this is what I experienced. What about you? And then you're saying, well, I experienced it this way and that's my truth. And you're both very invested in your truth. And it's brought you to a head. And it kind of seems like a positive thing. Like normally I would be maybe suggesting like this is all very black and white. There's not a lot of dialectical thinking here, but it's almost like this is the clarity that this relationship needed, where you are speaking truthfully about your truth and their truth, and either they're going to merge or they're not. It's almost like you've been on this journey for a while now, and you're both ready to clarify it with some finality, right? What I'm seeing is kind of this past experience or this past life together here where you did a lot of traveling or journeying. And when I say journeying, I mean physical travel across the earth plane, but also journeying through spiritual. It's showing me the interior of a cave or the interior of a whale, like Jonah and the whale. That's a story that might have profound meaning for you, or that you should read if you don't know the story of Jonah and the whale, because it's very similar to going into a cave for vision, right? Caves are visionary places. And this is showing me that you and this person have a history. It feels like past life to me, past lives of doing this kind of journeying work where you've already been sojourning as souls for a long time. And I think you've met each other in more than one life here. That's what's coming through. And that there was a lot of deep soul level work that happened for both of you in these other lives. You're like two really powerful entities, honestly. Like you might feel like you're both people who are not originally human. Like if you're someone that believes in past lives, you might believe that there are also like starseeds or people here that are honestly whose origins are not from this planet originally. And that's kind of coming through, that you might both feel, I mean, you're both really powerful. This is you. This is your relationship. This is your, it's all coming through. Like there's no separate, this is them, this is you, this is you. Like the other readings had a lot of distinct separation. This is showing me that there's not a lot of distinct separation. There's a lot of coming together from equally potent and powerful places. Like I keep wanting to say, like, you're both powerful entities, like primordial beings almost, who incarnated here for some reason. And where you're at right now is a very black and white space of reconfiguring your relationship and deciding, are we going to keep working together at this point, or are we going to separate? Are we going to go on our separate paths? The sense I get is that this is the earth plane and this is your soul plane, and your souls are looking at one another in deep regard. There's a dance happening between you that's really beautiful. I don't know how conscious you are of it right now. I don't know if you're both conscious of this or not, but this is just what's coming through, is that you both, normally, if I would say that, I would be assuming that you know that, but you may not know that, neither of you. You may not realize that there's this kind of intent. You may have suspected, like, sometimes I don't feel like I belong here, or sometimes I just want to go home, meaning I don't want to live on the earthly life anymore. Like, there might be challenges to both of you in existing here on the earth plane in this relationship, when you've had these experiences in other lives and in other realms that are way beyond sort of the density of the 3D earth plane. You have work to do here. This is like a staff, or like a medicine staff is what I'm seeing. You're both really powerful. It seems like what's going to help you is to both know that at this point and tap into this divinity and see beyond what are the conflicts that you're both going through in the 3D plane. You're both well matched. Like, you have the same level of intelligence. So there's not an imbalance here of you trying to get through to somebody and they're not getting it. It's almost like you've really had to come to the table to be like, okay, look, what are we going to do here? What's going on? Because we're approaching this from different angles. We feel like we're not moving in the same trajectory or something. There's conflict here that you're having to work out. That's really important before you can move forward. This is like a crossroads that you've come to. That's very physical. It's very earth-based. But what's going on in your souls is this. It's this beautiful shamanic, like, wise starseed energy that you both are. You're both, because of these multiple lives that you've had together, it's why you can come together in this equal, respectful way here and renegotiate the terms of where you're going. There doesn't seem to be a lot of fear here or imbalance with, like I said, him or her needing one thing from you and you needing more from them, right? It's not that. It's more about a meeting of the minds and a coming together right now to figure out, is this workable or do we need to part ways? This is my side of things. This is your side of things. These are the things I'm experiencing and walking through. This is what I've experienced and walked through. Can they even combine? Is this even compatible right now in this existence? What I'm showing is that it is very compatible. You just have to tap into your deeper knowing here is what's coming on, that you're both these kind of old souls, like traveling souls, possibly like starseed souls that are being challenged with your current circumstance because you're here to do something. You're here re-existing together in this time and this place for a reason. So that might be helpful to you going into these discussions and negotiations with this person about what's going to be the future of your work together or not, is to understand this about the two of you. This reading hopefully will help it come into focus and be like, oh my God, that's why we seem to work so well together, but we have this impasse that we're at, or that's why we feel so familiar, or that's why both of us feel like we're oddballs on this planet in this life, right? Like it's your kindred souls that's really coming through here. This is your kindred spirit. It's very beautiful. There's a lot of respect, a lot of regard, a lot of harmony in your soul's relationship because of these journeys you've gone through going into the belly of the beast, through facing the labyrinth, through growing in the dark cave, through all of that work that's shamanic in nature and that's about survival and soul growth. You've both done it. You're equally matched. This is a very powerful coupling, right? Like, this is a really powerful duality, like really amazing. I mean, you're the kind of people that if you're going to make it past this, people are lucky to be around you and the energy that you create as a duo. You just have to use your faculties of reason in the minds that you were given in this earth life to sort through the problems. And that can be difficult to do if you're this kind of wise souls on this one level. Trying to boil everything down to these earth practicalities can feel challenging. And I don't mean to disparage earth. Like, I love the earth. The earth is my mother, right? Like, I'm not trying to talk about living on the earth as something negative, but it's something that has brought you to this point between you where you're not approaching things in the same way and you're needing to renegotiate. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know if this is somebody you've been with for a long time or if this is a new thing and a new conflict. I can't tell. Let me see. There's something about the desert and like about the Southwest, or the type of where you see a skull. Like it might benefit you to do some journeying work now because you are advanced souls, like taking psychedelics together, right? Either in a facilitated way or recreationally, either one, as long as you're both comfortable with that level of exploration. That might help work here, because that's what was coming through. There's something about peyote almost, or desert plant medicine like peyote, mescaline, molly, something that would help you open up the other chakras in your system, because you might both be two in your mind right now, and that will help you open up the rest of your systems to one another again and find the clarity that's eluding you. That just came through. I also saw something to do with the white buffalo that was just born. So the white buffalo might have significance for you, or white buffalo calf woman might have meaning for you. You can look her up. Her influence and the medicine bundle that was hers, that's still carried, is in play in our universe right now, in our earth plane, because we're in such dangerous times. But to have something happen like this white buffalo be born, I think the current elder that carries that bundle that she originally gave to the people, he hid the bundle recently because he was worried about its safety because of world events unfolding. And it would be interesting to look into that story. If you have, just look up the bundle of white buffalo calf woman, right? And that story, it might have meaning for you, and meaning for you as a couple. Because like I said, you're here for some reason together, that if you work together in this harmonized way, you don't need to repeat all of these difficult, painful experiences of going into the belly of the whale or going deep into the cave to be given sight. Like, you already have earned those stripes, as they say. You're already here as souls. So tapping into that deeper, like DMT consciousness, I think is going to help you break out of this stuck place, or this mold that it's not really a stuck place. It's more just like coming to a head, but not everything's open here. It's very logic based, which logic is important, but it's not the only thing you should be operating on. You should be opening all your chakra system to one another if you want to succeed in your work together. You can't just base it on logic. And you might both be trying to cling to logic because it's what's tangible and what you can hang on to in uncertain times. And this is saying it's actually going to benefit you to do the opposite, to tap into other mechanisms within you of reasoning and decision making that don't just involve logic, but that involve the other parts of your body and your knowing and your ancestors, right? Or your starseed origins that can be helpful to you. For some reason, the song Rocky Mountain High just came through by John Denver. And I think that story came through maybe because they were all under the stars in the Rocky Mountains. And I think they may have taken psychedelics. And so there's something to do with that. Like, that if you allow yourself to do this kind of work with this partner, it's going to break through any concerns that you have. And I don't mean to be pushing. If psychedelics is not your thing, you don't need to use psychedelics. Nature itself can do that for you. If you both, like, it might just be like going backpacking together or spending a night together under the stars, where you talk openly and make a conscious choice before you have your conversation that you're going to smudge, that you're going to open up your chakra system to one another, and that you're going to be listening from your heart as well as your mind, right? It doesn't have to be psychedelics. Psychedelics can facilitate that, though, in a way that can cut through a lot of this veil, right, that we're all living under on this plane. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado. But that's such a nice, you know, we live, or at least where I live, there's a lot of light pollution, less than in the city, but there's still a lot near light pollution nearby. And when you go under the stars, when you're out camping, way far away from light pollution, it's so awe-inspiring and humbling, and the stars are really coming through here. And that might help bring everything into focus for you both in a way that's needed and going to be really restorative to you, because things have gotten really boiled down right here to just being lost in the logic of it all. And it's going to help you, I think, to open back up to the mystery and the heavens and the galaxies around it that's coming through, in order to open yourselves up to one another again and do this healing work that you're doing, which might just be partly being together is healing, not just for you, but for the people around you. Your energy as a couple or as a duo might be really restorative to those that are around you, just because you have good energy, kind of thing, right? I'm seeing flowers here, which is really beautiful. Like orchids, flowers. So plant medicine too might be a thing. Even if it's not psychedelics, just doing plant medicines like smudging, spending the night under the stars, drinking some fresh harvested tea or something, right? It's like doing this cave work, but it doesn't have to be so ominous. It can be more opening yourself up to what's greater than you as a duo. Yeah, I just keep hearing it. Rocky Mountain High. So you might be in Colorado, or it doesn't have to be specific to the Rocky Mountains. Although I live in the West, where there are a lot of really tall mountain peaks, where when you're backpacking in the mountain ranges around here, it is a high. It's truly a high to sleep under those stars like that. It's so, my soul's really yearning for it, to do that kind of trip again, but I don't like doing that kind of trip alone. Maybe this is my reading in some way, although I don't know who I would be doing this with right now, but it's a good message to remember your connection to nature. Yeah, just mountains, streams, nature. Nature is really in play here quite a bit, quite significantly. Getting connected to nature is going to help you as a couple. Doing a trip outdoors, even if it's to the coast. It keeps showing me the mountains, though. So I think some mountain work would be really healthy, even if it's just a day hike, right? But you can determine that for yourselves. It's a great suggestion to make, though. That's just tangible advice that came through. It's like, oh, outdoors together, go on a hike together, do something that invites in the natural world into the discussion, and it's going to open your bodies up in the way that's needed, in a way that is a little bit shut down right now because you're both so concerned with the problems that you're facing. Another song just came through. Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day. So that song is about Van Gogh, right? Vincent Van Gogh by Don McLean, and just a tribute to him. Like Vincent Van Gogh had that kind of sight, like second sight, like an incredible sight that wasn't recognized necessarily except for by a handful of people while he lived. And he may have gotten driven into a time like this where he just couldn't find his way in this 3D world, right? And but his paintings stand on their own, right? Like they're almost like channeled. They're so powerful and full of movement and beautiful, like that painting, The Starry Night. When you can kind of see beyond the veil, it helps often make everything that seems so huge at one point seem minimal in comparison. Yeah, that song is coming through, and these beings or these entities are like moving with that, in harmony with that song, which is a very beautiful song. It seems really important. Like, if you can, I know this sounds maybe a little bit random, but if you can spend the night with this person under the stars, I think it's going to be really helpful to the relationship and to figure out what you need to do now going forward. It's really beautiful. I have goosebumps. This is an incredible partnership. It doesn't mean that it's wrong if you decide that you have to part ways for a while, but it's a decision that you can make together from an equalized place. There's no threat, there's no power over in this circumstance. It's a very mutually regarding, respectful connection that can reestablish if you do that, put in that extra effort, is what I'm getting. And it brings down this past life memory into your current system, is what I'm seeing. Like, the memories of your souls falling through these different planes into the current plane for you. And then here you're like these two feathered serpents coming together. It's so gorgeous. Or these two orchids. It's just really beautiful. This is a really beautiful relationship. It's special. And it deserves that kind of effort, which I sense that you both know. It's just that you both might have gotten kind of mired down by the practicalities of things right now, and it'll help you to get your perspective back, both of you, to do something like that. Take a time out and go under the stars. Yeah, I think that's all for this pile. I keep wanting to stay here because it's really soothing energy to imagine being a part of this couple, and going into nature like this is very soothing for me. It's hard to want to end the reading. It's like a soothing energy to be in. So there's work that you can both do in this realm that is going to be soothing to others if it isn't already, right? It's really a beautiful, beautiful connection, and you're both very beautiful souls. So don't let this intimidate you. I sense that you're not letting it intimidate you. It's just that you're maybe a little bit troubled or worried that this is going to be a parting of the ways, and this is saying you can invite in other energies to help you make that choice. So I guess that, yeah, I think that's everything. I see some fall kind of coming through here also. So there might be some shifts happening in the fall. And we're in a great season for backpacking. Now and into the fall is a great time to go backpacking or camping, because it's a lot of times the mosquitoes are going away by now and into the late summer, and you can get out there and it's less crowded. It's not so much the wildflower displays anymore, but you get the cooler weather for hiking and the cooler nights, and less crowds, right? So it's a good time for that. My soul's really feeling a yearning to do that too. This is just great. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.